right, we get it rolling on the Krueg Show. Damon Bruce in the house. The home and home continues tonight. We're at our place, my place, the Krueg Show. Damon's in the house. Giants lose the opener. Warriors Kings go tonight. Masters round 2's going on. Mike Florio's saying Mac Jones for Trey Lance. What? We'll get into all of it straight ahead. Damon, how are you, man? I saw you with Gianna and another young lady.
Jocelyn. Yeah, I woke up early this morning and got to the ballpark. And, boy, it was rainy. It was a terrible just looked like a terrible day for baseball. I'm really glad that it cleared up, although the Giants never really showed up for this one. That was a rough home opener for them. I'm sure we'll get into it. But, yeah, up bright and early, doing a little work with Gianna. God bless her. Frickin' love her, man. She's been so good to me and helping try to get the word out of where everyone can find me now. And I'll tell you, man, thanks to you for all the help, because we in 1 week have put 4,000 subscribers together. I'm very proud to announce that today, the 3 biggest requests that I have: Damon solo, Damon with Larry, Damon with Ray Ratto. We'd love to hear it all. The 4th biggest request was, when can we get the audio that you're doing just in podcast form? Well, today we finally got it all done. We are Apple, Amazon, Audible, iHeart, Spotify, anywhere you can basically
Anchor FM
anywhere you can download a podcast, you can find me. And when we turn around, what you and I are doing, the home and home is going to be there too, Larry. So sorry, I got runny eyes. I don't know why. I got like a little pudding in my eye. I don't know what's going on. But look, it's been a really fun week. Your audience has been incredible in terms of being very generous and coming over to subscribe to my channels, and I couldn't thank you enough. Great group of people we get to talk to here, man. It really is. I'm having an awful lot of fun.
No doubt. Everybody should sign up for Damon Bruce Plus on YouTube and help him build that thing as fast as possible. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the Giants? You want to start with the Warriors?
Can I start with the Ned Coletti story? I don't think I've ever told you this, because
go for it.
I mean, you and I have so much history that goes back so many miles. I don't think people understand how far back it goes. The first time when KNBR said, "Thanks for the memories, Larry, we're going to move on," you were hosting Sports Phone. I took over for you when that ended. So before the year started, before the baseball season started, the following baseball season, Brian Sabian, Ned Coletti, Lee Hammer, and Larry Bear all brought me to lunch at Momo's. And obviously, you and Ned are beyond just 2 guys who had interviews with each other. A real friendship was struck. And I think that Coletti was probably how about this? When Larry Krueger was let go from Sports Phone 1,000,000 years ago, there were a lot of people involved with the Giants who were probably thrilled to get you off their back. But Ned, being a real one, was not a fan of that move. I'm sure of it, because I could feel Ned Coletti giving me the stink eye at Momo's the entire time that we were there. And there wasn't a moment of like nice back and forth between us until I brought up the fact that I grew up a Cubs fan and he's got love for the Cubs in his heart and all the, a lot of history there as well.
Sure.
So I could feel both Sabian and Ned Coletti testing me to just see if I could pronounce Scott Ayers' name correctly. Like, I could feel them wondering what kind of person is replacing their friend Larry Krueger. And hopefully I passed muster. But that was the first time I really got to meet. I never got to know Ned the way that you did. But, man, I've always enjoyed your conversations with him. I've been listening to you and Ned talk for over a decade, for goodness sakes. What does he think about this team, Larry? I mean, I know that former GMs don't do a lot of, GM on GM crime to existing GMs. I'm sure any criticisms of Farhan he might have, he would lay down very gently, because that's just kind of the baseball gentleman he is. But what does Ned Coletti really think of this year's Giants team and how Farhan built it?
Well, I don't want to speak for him necessarily, but, it's not they have different styles and different building strategies and different ways about them. I just think, well, there's mutual respect there. I'm sure Farhan has respect for Ned, and I'm sure Ned has respect for Farhan. And I know Ned knows how smart Farhan is. They don't see baseball the same way. They don't subscribe to the same theories. I give you an example. I think look at the coaching staffs. Look what the Giants coaching staff was under Ned and Brian. It was Joe LaFay, who knew Brian going back years and years to Tampa. It was Dave Righetti. It was Ron Wotus. It was guys who were involved in professional baseball for a long time, and those guys, they didn't turn them over that much. Like,
no, Bochy shows up, and he brings Flannery with him, but that was really the only difference in those staffs. There were a lot of holdovers from that Sabian Coletti era.
No doubt. But now you look at the Giants staff under Farhan, it's much more like a college staff. In fact, it has many more people that really didn't have a long professional baseball resume. Many of them had very short professional baseball resumes, but lengthy college resumes. So it's a different look. It's a different feel. The Giants now have a little bit more of a college staff. I mean, they're a little bit more, let's overturn we're going to turn over every stone, and we're going to, I'm not saying strict adherence to analytics, because I don't believe that, but it's going to be Farhan and the analytic department don't want to do all this analytic work and then just say, we're going to organically see how much of it comes on the field. They want to make sure that their analytics play out on the diamond directly. And that's what a lot of those people are doing there. That's why they're there, is that not that they're schmoes or just they don't have credibility, but they are there. The game has changed. It used to be run from the dugout. Now the game is run from the front office. I mean, just look at what managers used to make. Look what managers make now. Look what GMs used to make. Look what GMs make now. The GM money has gone up. The manager money has gone down. And the control has gone more to the GMs and the analytic department. Damon, opening day at Yankee Stadium when the Giants played the Yankees, there was a little subplot, a little sub-note in the notes, the game story notes, that the Yankees had taken a whole room that was it was just an empty room for equipment and stuff that's next to their clubhouse at their stadium, and they put in big screen TVs and made it an office because they have so many people now involved in the baseball day-to-day that aren't in uniform, that they need to have a place for them to converse and meet and sit and watch computers and watch screens and talk. And so they basically took this equipment room and made it into their kind of their
another
office
video room.
Yeah, like another souped up video room with a lot of people. So it's just a different game now. But I think, I asked Ned, would you come back? And I think he would come back if the Giants ownership group wanted him back in any role, whether it be as an advisor or if they actually want him to run the show. But I don't think the Giants are there yet.
Yeah, no, that's when I tuned in and I heard him saying, I'm always going to have love for the club, but I'm not going to beg and I'm not going to try to step on anyone's toes. I could listen to Ned talk about Jeff Kent covering up his wrist, truck washing stories all day long. Oh, by the way, Tampa just went yard again, so they are going to remain, it looks like, baseball's undefeated team. It looks like they're going to 7-0. They got a 9-4 lead over the A's right now. That game's in the bottom of the 8th. So,
well, here's one thing on the Giant game I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Yeah.
I think the Giants are really interesting from the standpoint, Damon, that they are built around, they don't have Barry Bonds, but what they have is 13 or 14 guys that all may hit 10 home runs or more. So they got and Kapler kind of leaned into it in the pregame. He's like, yeah, we got power up and down our lineup. In the Giants wins, they've scored in their 3 wins, they've hit 15 home runs. In their 4 losses, they have 16 total hits. They're getting 4 hits a game in their losses. It's an all or nothing proposition. And I asked this to Ned, and I think this is an interesting debate topic with the Giants. Are the Giants going to be a team that is absolutely the worst construction for their ballpark in the history of baseball, because this ballpark, you have to play small ball. You have to hit the ball in the gaps. It rewards gap hitters and speed and defense and pitching, and they don't have speed. Their defense is totally marginal. Their pitching might be decent unless they have injuries, but they've got a lot of power and a lot of guys who strike out. And in a park like this where you can't hit the ball out of the ballpark, I'm kind of wondering if they're going to be a bomb as far as at home, because if you can't hit the ball over the fence and you can't manufacture runs and you don't have guys on base, I mean, how do you score runs? How are they going to score runs in this ballpark if in the especially in April and May, Damon, when that sea level at Oracle Park in April and May, man, it's hellaciously difficult to pump it out of the yard. Now, the Royals hit a couple bombs today. That one guy, Pasqualino or whatever his name is, he's got huge power. But, I mean, the Giants have a bunch of power hitters, but they also strike out a ton. And if they don't hit the ball over the fence, are they going to be able to score runs? And if they can't score runs, they get good depth of pitching, but it's not like awesome pitching. I wonder how they're going to do at home this year.
It's a legitimate question. The concerns of hitting at home have existed since the afternoon the ballpark opened. As soon as you saw that wall basically take any single left-handed hitter and just kind of reduce them, Barry Bonds, they still aren't at triple-digit splash hits. I mean, that's amazing. They're sitting on 98 splash hits, I believe, in that ballpark's history, which is, more than 2 decades now. So they built a very tough park, especially against left-handed hitters. If you're a right-handed hitter with a little bit of an opposite field approach, you will have 418-foot outs in that power alley. We know how difficult it is building a team to fit it. That's a tough thing to do, because even if you build a team to fit that ballpark, then what happens when you go on the road? I mean, that was always the knock against the Red Sox. You build a team to hit well at Fenway. Does that translate anywhere else you go as much as it translates at Fenway? And, the problem to me is, I think, and I'm not criticizing you because you're right, having 12 to 13 guys hitting 10 home runs sounds like you got a powerful lineup, but it isn't. I mean, not when you adjust it for modern launch angle baseball home run inflation. I think that hitting 10 home runs is something utility infielders who only get 300 at-bats do these days. I mean, 10 home runs is nothing to major league hitters. It shouldn't be. It seems like a grandiose accomplishment for San Francisco Giants because really, you haven't seen too many hitters with home run totals in their 30s since Barry Bonds took off. So, the power that the Giants have shown on the road clearly will get muted at home, but I don't even know if this is that much of a powerful team. They feast on back of the rotation pitching, and they get beaten by unfamiliar and elite pitching. And I wouldn't be surprised if that trend didn't follow this team into yet another season. I mean, it's kind of what they've been. So the question, because the offense has always been a bit hot or cold, it's what your pitching staff, what are they going to look like? And for the Giants to do anything this year, Logan Webb basically has to be in a Cy Young conversation, right? I mean, he's just got to be incredible, unstoppable, beating other aces as often as he sees them. And he's got to be Mr. Zeros today. Well, he's off to an 0-2 start with an ERA over 6.5. Very small sample size, obviously, but that's not the start you're looking for him. Yeah, I mean, the home runs, it's been surprising. It's been a nice little story, but is it translatable? Can you start to count on it? And waiting around for the home run that doesn't really come is a good way to lose baseball games, especially in that ballpark. So I hope that they start getting a little bit more aggressive. When I think, what has to happen for this year to fit together and go well? I think Mike Yastrzemski's just got to be Mike Yastrzemski again, where he is a screaming line drive double hitter all over that yard and deadly when he's got 2 strikes against him. That guy hasn't really been Mike Yastrzemski since like 3 injuries and 2 seasons ago. I hope he can show up again.
I'm not sure that that's going to happen for him. I see him as a guy who is, career minor leaguer, got an opportunity, made the most of it. Now he's outside of his prime. And I just think that when you have to fight and claw for everything you got, he got his opportunity, had a couple nice years. He's made a little money
I
to
like
be
him.
able
He's
to take
stubborn.
care of his family.
I like him.
But I know I like him, but I just, look what he hit. He didn't touch the ball in spring training. He hit 214 last year. He hit 220 the year before that. I realize batting averages are down around the game, but still,
Right.
when I saw them, here I got a guy this morning who was like, Krug, your take was terrible on the Giants because I said the Giants had a weak lineup. But you know what? You're hitting Yaz fifth. On opening day, you hit Wilmer Flores third.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember my perspective. I was doing pregame and postgame when the Giants had Barry Bonds, Jeff Kent, and Ellis Burks. And then those were the guys who hit 3, 4, 5. But that same lineup had JT Snow. He hit 28 home runs. They had Rich Aurelia. One year he had 37 home runs. They had other guys. Bill Miller. Bill Miller won a freaking batting title in the American League with the Red Sox.
Right.
I mean, they had some big-time guys. And they had they had a bunch of guys who could hit. Now, I mean, Wilmer's your third-place hitter. Lamont Wade went 0 for 3 today. He's hitting 211. That's your leadoff hitter. Then you're gonna provide all this lip service about pitching and defense, but you're gonna kiss off Longoria and Belt, who granted were old, but they were probably two of your best infield gloves, and you replace them with Lamont Wade, Lamont Wade is not a good fielder. I mean, I don't know if you saw the first inning, ball went right through the wickets. That ball's got to be fielded. And it just went right through the legs. He's not a good defensive first baseman, and
he's not much of a first baseman at all.
Yes, and you lose Longoria. I mean, Longoria was really good at the hot corner.
He was, but again, I would. How about this? If you offer me right now, take everything you know about Evan Longoria and try to wring one more year out of it, or get David VR 550, 600 at bats. I'd like to see the at bats from VR. I really would. Now,
but
I don't know
a ground ball to third base today was an infield hit. That was going to be an out if Longoria charges that ball and throws to first. Instead, he kind of played it wrong, played it back, and then had no chance, threw it in the dirt, offline. And it was, I mean, come on. It's a horrendous play. I know what you're saying, though. He hit 30-something home runs in the minors. You got to get him out there. I mean, how do you sit there and say we're getting better on D and get rid of two phenomenal gloves? And they're not more athletic and younger up the middle as their stated goal of the offseason. So, if you state your goals and then you don't do anything to change the team, you can't blame the fans if they're like, what the hell's going on here? You said you were getting younger, more athletic up the middle, and I'm looking at Crawford and Yaz and, Perez behind the plate. And, it's like, that's not younger. That's not more athletic. So is that on me? Is that now on me that I'm noticing that you set this goal and didn't reach it? I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a Giant organization say, our stated goal this offseason is to do this, this, and this, and then do none of it and bring it all back.
And I've never seen a team have more trouble developing first-round draft picks to even at least get 300 semi-dependable at-bats out of them. I mean, what is going to happen now with Joey Bart? Because here's a guy.
He's done.
Here's the thing. If nothing else, why isn't he your permanent right-handed DH? I mean,
they don't like him. They don't like him. Either Farhan doesn't like him or Gabe doesn't like him. They don't like him. They said as much early in spring training. I think I was on with you on the radio, and I think I put that out there that, hey, you know what? I was talking to my moles in Arizona, and they were telling me early in the Cactus League that Gabe was sitting in the dugout, basically talking up the other catchers and not, basically saying, I mean, Farhan said it. If Joey Bart does the same thing this year as he did last year, they're not going to go with him, and they've already picked up the Yankee catcher who was hit 195 over the last 3 years. So, and then this is the part that kind of is like, I kind of sit there and I scratch my head and I say, what's going on down there? Because Joey Bart has to show you that he's got it, but you're gonna go with Yaz and Wade over and over again in meaningful parts of your lineup, giving them huge numbers of ABs. and they're Wade at 207 and Yaz at 215, and those guys are nobodies. I hate to say it. They were minor league players who got a call up. Joey Bart was the second pick in the freaking draft. And he had 11 home runs in about half a season. If you played him all year, he'd probably hit 20 bombs. Why does Joey Bart why you have higher standards for Joey Bart than you have for Yaz and Wade?
Right. Anyone who can hit 20 bombs, if they're hitting around 211, that's almost standard fare these days. I mean,
and he's a catcher, and you don't have anybody else. But you're going to go with a first baseman that can't hit and a center fielder who can't hit. And when there are other guys in the sport you could get for catcher, I get it. If you got a catcher or a shortstop that doesn't hit but really has a exciting power or exciting bat or whatever, I get that because there's harder positions to fill. But I don't get, get Joey Bart. Now Bart's hurt now, but I've got the feeling that Joey Bart's done here. I'll say it. I think there's a very good chance that Joey Bart will get traded this year for some bench player that they will put, some platoon bench player that can be in the major league roster, and they'll promote Gary Sanchez, and they'll have Gary Sanchez and Sable if he hits, and Perez or Austin Wins if Perez is hurt. Perez got hurt today. What was the injury today for Perez? I don't know how long he's out, but shoulder maybe or something.
Yeah, I didn't see any details or the wrap up. I haven't read anything but the box score, and I was actually in and out
right
of the car.
Shoulder sprain. Right shoulder
when
sprain.
I heard about it. So, look, I don't know what this year is. What's the point? Where is the there? What is the one element of either your minor league system you're looking to bring through, somebody who's here that you're looking to develop and actually give all the major league attention and at bats to, come hell or high water, as long as the guy's confidence is maintained and doesn't start shrugging his shoulders and losing personal belief in himself. I always thought that the Giants have hastened their own demise by not admitting who they are in seasons where they tried so hard to stay on that balance beam of contention. When you've seen, the Houston Astros are clearly the most extreme example possible. I mean, where they bottom out to like 110 losses or whatever the hell it was. It was an embarrassing bottoming out that took several seasons, but look at what it got them. Look at the prospects and look at the rewards that they're still reaping, banging trash cans or not. They officially hit the reset button.
So the Cubs. How come the Cubs? Yeah. How come the Cubs could rebuild in a city like Chicago, but the Giants can't rebuild in San Francisco? Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I really can't tell you. And I'm not saying that they're disrespecting their fan base, but I think everyone would understand what was happening if you struggled to win major league games while at least minor league guys or just called up guys were getting seasoned. I get it, but Farhan has to be all about service time manipulation, and they don't seem willing to start a major league clock until it's absolutely the perfect and right time to start it. Whenever you think you got a little something, unless you have an entrenched, no doubt about it, major leaguer in front of that might be something, give that might be something a look. I also think there's been an awful lot of letting go of the rope from this team's top prospects. It has been, a multiple season of underwhelming statistical production from some of this team's and franchise's most ballyhooed minor leaguers. So they're caught in between who they wanted to be, who they've never been, the free agents that don't end up signing here, and the aging, diminished roster that they kind of had. Having said all that, 85 wins and third place and still probably not good enough. I mean, they're going to be this weirdly in the middle. It's going to be like purgatory, not torture again, but it's going to be weird watching this team this year. You can tell there's going to be nights where you're like, man, they can play baseball. And then there's going to be days like today where the 1-6 Royals, beat you soundly.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Pearman says, can Farhan designate himself for assignment? MF says, why not get guys in their prime? Exactly. How about this one from Eddie? He says, Larry, you're being very negative on Yaz. He's not a scrub either, man. Okay, let's maybe you need to go check out your Yaz. 2019, 2019 Yaz hit 270. 270, 334. Okay, those are good numbers. 2020 Yaz, 297, 400 on base, 10 home runs in 54 games. Terrific year. Since 2020, it's now 2023. So that means 2021, he played a full season. He hit 224. Now, he did hit 25 home runs that year, so I'll give him the pass on the 224. But look at the trend. 224, 311 on base, 2021. 2022, that drops to 214 with a 305 on base. His home runs dropped to 17. And now, that was last year. So, and then this year he hit 125 or something like that in the Cactus League. And, he had a nice little series against the White Sox. But I mean, I don't know, man.
So did everyone.
Everybody, they were running to the bat rack on the south side there. But
by the way, they got negative. It's like I talked today. Do you see that? I mean, the Chicago is just
the White Sox have a lot of good offensive players, but they're going to have some pitching issues.
Giolito got shelled.
The thing about Yaz they caught lightning in a bottle, and if you look at him right now, I mean, Mike Yastrzemski's 32 years old. If we look at his splits from last year, they're not good. And then you're going to sit there and if you want to have him on the team, that's fine.
Right.
But he hit 179 last year against lefties. He hit 227 against righties. If you've got a left-handed hitting guy who's an all-or-nothing guy, that guy's got to do something against somebody. And 227 is his good average, and he's basically an automatic out, a minor league player against lefties. And there's a lot of good lefties in this division. And then he's 227 against righties. You couldn't find anybody better than that. I don't get it. I mean, this is not charity. This is the big leagues, man. You don't get to stay just forever just because you're a nice guy. There's nothing personal against the guy, Eddie. I'm just looking at his numbers, and his numbers are going this way. And I was talking to a guy who knows a lot more about the Giants than either of us this last week. And he's like, you know what? The guy, he came out of the minor leagues with the Orioles, caught lightning in a bottle for a couple years, but it's over, and this is a guy who knows it a whole lot better than I do. And he's like, hey, his days are over. And not only is he not over, he's hitting fifth and playing center field every day on a major league team. So how many years do you give a guy to hit 225 or less?
It's got to be the beginning of the end unless that turn. Here's the thing. I'm hoping for a turnaround because I do. I don't know why I like him. I'm sure it's got to do with, the last name still ringing some romance in my ears. But to me, when I look at like Giants problems, he might be emblematic and representative of their inability to turn the page. But that brings us to kind of Brandon Crawford. Look, Brandon Crawford can still pick it, not quite like he used to, but he can still play shortstop. But
sure,
he might have one of those years where he's not sniffing 200 at the plate. And what do you do then?
But he's a very good defensive shortstop. So I put him in and he's a lifelong Giant who's been great.
It matters, and that matters. That's when house credit does matter.
And the only thing is, I'd love to sit there and say, man, Farhan and Gabe, they 107 wins, but you know what? Let's be honest. They did that with Sabian's team. Those were all Sabian's core players having one more last year, from Buster to Belt to Longoria to Crawford. This is year 5. Farhan should have young guys breaking through. They should have 2 or 3 position players, 2 or 3 young starters. They don't. They don't have any of that.
Who gets Farhan? Did Farhan even? Who can he claim? Camilo Duvall? Is that it?
Yaz, and he can claim Yaz and Sable
he claimed him because
Estrada,
he picked him
Tyro
up,
Estrada.
I'm talking about drafted and developed.
Nobody. He hasn't drafted and developed anybody. He's got Cole Waits, and that's it. I mean, the thing about it, I've read an article yesterday on the Giants, and it said, the Giants may not be the worst team in the league. They're not going to be the best team in the league, but they're picked to be 500. They're going to be in and around 500. But the depressing part, and the part that I think is a hard sell, is that there is not one guy that you're going to see outside of maybe Logan Webb that when the Giants get to be World Series caliber is going to be a major jersey wearing guy on, you know what I mean? Everybody on this team by the time they're really good and contending is going to be elsewhere. So it's kind of like a weird team because you can't, like, I would have promoted Casey Schmidt and tried to get behind him. Why? Because he's a Gold Glove caliber defender. He can play short and third. And you know what? You've already had a couple injuries, and VR's already had to play second. And your chances, to me, of having a better defense, Casey Schmidt is the best defensive player that you have in your franchise right now.
Hey,
so I really would like to see him up
too. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen much. There's no reason to fall in love with anything yet. But Bryce Johnson is a lot younger. What is he? 27 years old than Mike Yastrzemski. There's a center fielder. He's already hitting 333. Go ahead and get that guy in that bat more than 4 times a week.
Yeah. Well, and then just. It's like I'd like to know what the philosophy is. It's like, oh, we got to get guys who are healthier. We can't go with Correa because there's health risks. But then here comes Conforto, and he didn't even play last year.
And
here comes Haniger. Haniger's been hurt. He played 50 games last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, those were your big offseason acquisitions were 2 hurt guys, and it's just like, and one of them's hurt already. And, so it's just, believe me, I want to be, I'm a native San Franciscan. I'm a lifelong Giants fan. It's not like I'm rooting for some other team besides the Giants.
Right.
I just don't, I'm looking at this Giants team, and I'm looking today, and it was like 15 minutes before first pitch, and it seemed like there's so many empty seats, and it's opening day, and it just didn't feel like opening day.
No,
it really didn't.
The weather hurt it a little, but there's a lot of, I don't want to say it broken faith or anything like that between the Giants and their fans, but I think the fans have said, I've seen this movie before, and I used to pay for this movie even though I had seen it before because sometimes it produced one hell of an ending and I had a little extra cash around. I know for a fact that I don't have that extra cash around, and I know that ending's not going to happen. So I think just people naturally pull back from their baseball consumption, and you can tout your $9 beers, but when the price of everything else goes up, it's hard to look at that $9 beer and say, "Oh, what a bargain."
Here's another factor.
Let me make you feel a little bit better here, though, Larry. Yeah. I don't want you to get down. It's a home opener. You're a big Giants fan. Look, I even rocked the All-Star game, the splash shirt. I even walked that today. If you want to feel better about everything and know that this team's in great hands,
get an $18 crab sandwich.
Carlos Correa is 0 for 5 today. He's hitting 172 with a 207 slugging percentage.
Maybe they dodged a bullet. It's the best moves you make are the ones you don't make or whatever. Maybe that's the deal.
Like that.
Glass half full guy says, how is this lineup even remotely acceptable given what the other teams in the division have? I'll say this too. I mean, I don't know what people pay for the tickets, and I'm a big-time baseball fan, but I mean, I'm looking at that Royals lineup today. Okay, I'm thinking, who do I know in this lineup? Matt Duffy, JBJ, Jackie Bradley Jr., Sally Perez, who went yard, Bobby Witt Jr., who came off the bench, and that's it.
And Matt Duffy, because he played for the Giants.
And Duffy, Bradley, Sally Perez, and Bobby Witt Jr.
Right, so but
Melendez, Massey, Pasquantino, Isbell, Dozier, Lopez. I mean, it's like, what?
Right. Well, here's the thing, though. This is how
I'm a baseball fan.
Here's how the Royals turn around and sell that. You don't know Kyle Isbell, right? Well, you're not supposed to yet. He's 26 years old and just kind of got here. I mean, the Royals, at least with every single one of those unfamiliar names, have a little youth behind it, as opposed to the lack of familiarity with some Giants names around baseball. And that guy is, 29, 20, 30, 31 already. I mean, that's the difference there. That's, to me, why the Royals can get away with that. And again, they're off to an awful start. They're not trying to be anything this year. They're not claiming to be anything this year.
Yeah. I mean, they were nameless, faceless team when they won the World Series. But I mean, now it's like, wow, it's you don't. I mean, those guys could literally, the Royals could take their uniforms off, put on their civvies, walk to their hotel on the other side of Market Street, and not a single person would stop them for an autograph.
How about the Giants? I mean, doesn't that apply to the Giants in the city of San Francisco as well?
Maybe Crawford.
Crawford get recognized,
they'd
but if he shaved
recognize
his head,
that.
he wouldn't.
Yeah, Crawford would be. That's a good topic actually. How many guys would be recognized on the Giants? Lamont Wade.
You know what's kind of the gross and correct, and he would love it answer? Gabe Kapler. Gabe Kapler is the most recognizable Giant, and I'm sure he loves that.
Did you see, by the way, Kapler at the restaurant in Arizona with Alex Pavlovich and Laura Britt? Did you see that TV show last night?
No.
Taped? Where they're discussing Gabe and food and, oh my God. I mean, it's just, he's just so, I don't even know what to say, dude. I don't know what to say. I don't want to badmouth the guy, but it's just like, he's so just not the normal guy. He's just like, he's just odd. He's just odd. I don't know any other way to say it. I don't want to harp on the guy and beat up the guy, but it's just like, he's so oddly exact about all of his statements and he's just an odd cat. He's an odd duck.
You know what? I think it's
kind of like Harbaugh. Remember when Harbaugh was here? It was like Harbaugh was just an odd duck.
Harbaugh was an odd duck, but it came from a place that where like you had like a little fear of it. I don't know. Like to me, more than Harbaugh, like the comparison point to me is Alex Rodriguez. Like, even though Alex Rodriguez was a hell of a baseball player, there was just something that was a little too polished about every single one of his media interactions where nothing ever felt authentic.
He's such a fake too.
Yeah, but there's that's there. It doesn't seem like Gabe Kapler sits around and just lets it loose and just talks shit with anyone.
They were talking about
measuring very closely, to not offend the asparagus with every word he says. He's like not Alex a lot of Pavlovich, natural human around him.
He's like Alex Pavlovich on an 80-20 baseball scale. You know, the 80-20 baseball scouting scale.
Yes.
He's like, and he's explaining this to Laura Britt. She didn't know about the 80-20 scale. And then he's like, what was that pork chop that you just ate? And, I'm sure it's some free pork chop in some restaurant. And he's like, I'll give it a 65. A 65. It's definitely major league very good. It was very good. But it's not 80 because like Willie Mays is 80 and it's explaining. I mean, it was just you got to anybody. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I was sitting there and I'm like, this is a train wreck, but I can't turn this off. I got to watch this. And how would you describe your potatoes au gratin? Okay, it's a 75. It's a
ooh, so they're bringing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like
elite potatoes au gratin.
It was. I'm sitting there going. Boach would be like, get a beer, sit down. Let me tell you about my Traeger.
Yeah.
You ever grill? Let's go grill. It's like, Gabe is just, I don't know. There's something about him. I can't decide either he's like an awesome manager ahead of his time or he's like a train wreck and that 2021 107 win season was totally luck. That was the aberration, and he's just a 500 guy. I don't know.
I know why Kapler and Farhan work together so well, because Kapler is very much into buying into whatever the latest. This is the newest protein shake that all the smart people are drinking. This is the newest way to do a push-up that anyone who cares about push-ups is now into. Like he's very, I think, trendy in terms of this will make you better trends, and that's what Farhan does when he's trying to put together his algorithms and his equations of why it's all going to work. Where Kapler, I think, hurts, like I've heard several players just do not pick up what he puts down. Several players, Brandon Crawford, chief among them.
He just doesn't seem like a normal dude. He just seems kind of like he's a little. I would, if I was trying to say in a very kind of non-aggressive manner, if I was trying to describe him to somebody who had never come across him, I'd be like, he's just kind of extra. He's got a lot of extra to him. You know what I mean? He's a little extra. It's like when you say, hey, what's up? Instead of just going, yeah, hey, what's up, man? Just kind of give the head bob. Yeah, what's going on, dude? He'd be like, I'm doing fine right now. It's like he's just like he's just a little, I don't know. It doesn't work with me.
There's There's
something about him that's so disingenuous.
I was about to say disingenuous. That's what it is.
I hate this kind of a question too. Gabe, what do you think of what do you think of your infield? Whatever. I'm glad you asked me that question. That's an excellent question. And then if it's like, no, it wasn't. It was just a throwaway nothing question. It's like if I ask you an excellent question, tell me I have an excellent question. If I ask you just a regular, mundane, random question, don't pander. Don't pat me on the head with his pandering. That is an excellent question. He just tries sometimes he tries really hard. I don't know. He's just not my cup of tea. But hey, maybe guys like him. Maybe guys like him. Who knows?
We're about to give way to a pretty important Warriors game tonight.
I know. In Sacramento, I'm watching a little bit of NBC Sports Bay Area off to my right shoulder here. Glass half full guy says, how is this lineup even remotely acceptable given what the other teams in the division have? We read that one. But we got a bunch of people down here in the chat who want to get in on this. There's a lot of one of the comments here is that Larry Baer doesn't know what he wants in this team or know what the fans want. Here it is. This is kind of an interesting one. H76 says Larry Baer's confused on what the Giants fans want in the team. I think the Giants ownership group has been so worried about what if we have minor league players and we're not in contention, and will the fans support that after we've won World Series? And it's like they didn't give their fans enough credit for being sophisticated baseball fans who see everything. And it's like, so they're so worried about not saying rebuilding and not trying to rebuild that they're not really giving themselves a chance to rebuild. And it's like, I want to see some young players. I want to see somebody that I really am excited about. And then I want to get up in the fifth inning and I want to go to the souvenir stand and I want to be able to buy my 7 or 8 year old a jersey that has that guy's name and jersey number. And I want that kid to be able to go home and say, Dad, how did Casey Schmidt do today? But they don't do that because they're so nervous about, is Schmidt ready and this and that. It's like, I don't know. It's just there's not a lot of there. And I want to be real positive about the Giants, but it's like, God, I mean, put on a show, do something. Now, I like this road trip because I thought wow, the ball's going all over the yard. And if you're going to lose, you might as well lose with the ball being rocketed everywhere. But I get the sense with the way the thing's gone that good pitching and their ballpark is going to make it so they're a far better watch on the road. I think they're going to be a better team on the road. I think they're made to play on the road. I don't think they're going to be able to hit a lot of home runs in their park. And then if they don't hit home runs, how are they going to score in their park? So I don't know. I'm a little worried about the Giants' ability to score runs at home this year. And that's a big part of making it an entertaining product for your fans.
By the way, just reacting to H76, Bear is confused on what this Giant and what Giants fans want in this team. I think H76 is confused about Larry Bear's status in this team. I don't think Larry's making any of those decisions anymore. I think Larry Bear has reached the point where he is in charge of an awful lot of business going on around the team and making sure that all those nostalgia points sell very well. Larry's great when it comes to putting on pregame ceremony and things like that, but I don't think Larry Bear is involved at all with a single roster decision or has any influence over that front office anymore. He used to. Larry Bear had an amount of juice that he does not have under this administration.
I think he still has a lot of hands-on day-to-day control over the broadcasters and
he's in charge of PR. He runs Giant PR more than he does team.
Yeah, I think maybe the big decisions probably get made over his head, but I don't even know that for sure. I mean, and then I don't know. I'll say this: I didn't see 2021 coming. So since I'm not seeing this year coming, does that mean that this year can be a 2021? I guess theoretically it could be. I mean, they looked exciting this weekend, beating up on the White Sox and just scoring runs by the bushel. But I don't know if they can be able to keep that rolling. But I had a guy this morning who was like taking a victory lap because I said they had a weak lineup, and this guy was like, "See, you're wrong." I'm like, bro, we're 6 games in. There are 162 games. Let's let this thing air out a little bit. Let's see this thing play out for 3, 4, 5 weeks.
And the Chicago White Sox are just patently awful right now. So
let's not take victory laps on the White Sox series. I mean,
Rip Cougar Rebel says, effing $9 beer. I'm sneaking Hennessy into the ballpark. Well, that's always smart. Sneak your Henny in. But I'll tell you right now, a $9 beer is pretty good at a normal bar, much less a bar at a baseball game these days. So
yeah, that's not bad. I went to a Warrior game at Chase, and I bought 3 tall boys for $52.
Larry, I'm at a fish show a couple of years ago. At Chase Center, getting loose with some buddies. I got him in there, and you don't have to pay me back. Buy me a couple drinks. Blah 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 blah. So a friend of mine goes off, gets 3 double tall Jack and Cokes. 3 whiskey, double tall whiskey and Cokes, 3 of them. He comes back with it looked like he had seen a ghost. He was pale white, and I'm like, what? He's like, these drinks were $42 each. $42 each. So, do the math. He's dropping like $126 on a freaking 3 cocktails.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Fish and chips. Larry, the background update needs to be updated. Damon has an interior designer. Mrs. Bruce is on the ball. I think Damon's probably in his house. I'm in my garage.
Okay,
so my studio
garage is part of your house. That is part of your house. Shame on you. Don't talk down to your garage like that. Don't be a garagist, Larry.
I'm in a carpeted wall room here.
You're in a specifically built to broadcast in studio by a professional company. Let's be totally honest. No, you could use a little touch behind you. I'll tell you right now, Jillian has incredibly reasonable hourly rates. We'd be happy to contract her out to you, Larry. We'll send her over. She can work on your microphone. She can work on the backdrop and whatnot.
What's this plus over your left shoulder? It says the plus.
The plus. So it's,
and then the lights just went off on it, but there's like sometimes red lights on it and sometimes not.
So we can go straight up like disco lights if we want to. You can change the lights around. What happens is it's also battery run. So I think you just saw the batteries peter out. Plus. That's what happened. That's 2 D-cell batteries dying a noble death. You just saw look at it this way. You just saw a little history. How often do you actually get to see the battery fail? You just saw that. But yeah, the plus is, Damon Bruce plus, Damon Bruce plus. It's just it's stupid is what it is. It's join me on the plus. It's like kind of like ESPN 8, the Ocho. It's the plus.
Ham's Electric says Larry's in the basement office looking for his stapler.
We're back to life. It's a freaking disco party all of a sudden.
Look at that. I like that. Jesse Naylor, one of the other Niner content creators, has great lighting going in the background as well. I'm envious. I'm envious of your lighting. JJ says, Larry, get a green screen and just copy Damon's background. The thing is, I don't like the green screen because then like you move a little bit and all of a sudden your part of your head's cut off.
You look like a special effect. But it would be funny if all of a sudden I tuned into you and you got like an Indiana pennant behind you and a basketball signed by Bob Knight. Like all of a sudden I'd be like, wait a minute. Cease and desist.
Fish and Chips says, I love you guys. One of the I did go green screen for a little while. and we had gone to Hawaii, and so we were in this really posh lobby in Hawaii, and I took a bunch of pictures in the lobby, and then all of a sudden I green screened it and I had it behind, and I swear if I moved it didn't look real, but if I didn't move, I mean it was like we were right there on the big island. I mean it was like, wow, man, look at that. All right, let's talk Warriors for a second. Warriors go tonight against Sacramento. I don't know if you saw this, Damon, because you were at the ballpark today and there's a lot going on. Phoenix is taking on the Lakers tonight. Phoenix is sitting Durant, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton against the Lakers tonight. If the Lakers win that game and the Warriors lose tonight to Sacramento, or the Warriors win tonight against Sacramento, the Lakers win that game, and the Warriors lose to Portland. If the Warriors lose either of the next two, and the Lakers beat the Suns tonight, the Lakers are the 6th seed, and the Warriors are in the play-in. That's my understanding. The great John Dickinson put together
You see
this
the scenario? It's incredible.
I mean, it's just
if he seriously did that himself, and he probably did because he's just that kind of nuts to do it.
JD. Wow.
What a comprehensive roadmap to tie-breaking scenarios and stuff that he put out. That's why John Dickinson is a real man's journalist right there.
I mean, JD is just the man.
He is. Look,
but how nervous are you for Golden State tonight?
If the Warriors slip to the 7, they will have deserved it and earned every bit of it, Larry. They really will. Tonight, if they win, right, they'll be 5 games over 500 for the very first time all season if they win tonight. So all they have to do is something that they haven't been able to do once all year, and that's climb 5 games above 500. They're on the road. Have we seen anything from Slater in terms of are the Warriors a full go beyond Wiggins not going? I mean, like, why? Again, I'm going to come back to it. Why the hell isn't Andrew Wiggins playing this incredibly important game? Explain that to me. You have a totally uninjured 28-year-old world-class athlete who is not playing a borderline must-win basketball game. And I don't understand it. And if you explain it to me, if you try to explain it to me in some sort of way that an athletic trainer would explain it to me, I'd want to punch you and say, sure, go play basketball. Yeah, if the whole point is you're worried that he's not in basketball shape, how does one get in basketball shape without playing basketball?
And we now know why Wiggins has been out. His father has been dealing with a medical situation.
Okay.
Mitchell Wiggins.
I don't think I'm buying that, Larry. I'm really not. Like, I'm not trying to say the Warriors are lying about that or anything, but
you're saying that's like a backfire. Like, look over here. Don't look over there. Look over here.
It's a little bit of a cover story. We've heard other things attached to Andrew Wiggins' absence, which would be the kind of things that you wouldn't want to talk about in public. There would be no shame attached to Andrew Wiggins to upfront just say, look, my father's ailing. I need to be with him. Everyone would understand that. Why would you protect that secret? What is worth rampant speculation for well over almost a month and a half, 2 months, when you can just say, my father's sick, I need to be with him? By the way,
it's a little too easy and convenient.
Can we get an update? By the way, can we get an update then? Is Dad getting better? Is he okay? Is Andrew Wiggins back because the father has recovered?
It says,
if he has, that's wonderful news. I'd like to hear that element of the story.
Well, you've seen this. Shams, this is 4 days ago. The reason for Wiggins' leave of absence since mid-February is that his father, Mitchell Wiggins, has been dealing with a serious medical situation, sources close to the situation say.
Has he triumphed over that situation? Is he no longer involved in that medical situation? If so, good news. I hope he's fine. I hope he has many years left in his life. I really do. But to me, why wouldn't you just come out and say, my father's sick, I need to be with him? I've made fuck you money, so I don't care what you think about it. I'm good with it. So's Joe Lacob, and he's the only guy I need to answer to. And Steve is cool with it, and the players say that they're cool with it. So I don't care what you think, fans. My dad needs me. Even hardcore jackass sports fans would understand, okay, if your dad needs you by his side, you go by his side. Family's more important.
Right.
So why not just say that if that's what it is? No one would criticize. No one would look funny at that. So why protect that information? Why guard it right up until his return, where now you're saying, all right, no one needs to ask any follow-up questions or inquire as to what to happen. It was his dad after all. And look, maybe it was. Maybe it is. Maybe he's ultra private because he's Jehovah's Witness or whatever that is. I don't know. Like, the whole thing just screams, that ain't normal. And I ain't buying it just because the team said so. Where do you think Shams got that from? The hospital? No, he got it from the Warriors. He got it from whoever in Chase decided to let that news out. I mean, spend 2 minutes.
One of my favorite
Larry,
shows of all time.
Spend 2 minutes on Black Twitter, okay? Spend 2 minutes on Black Twitter. There's a very different Andrew Wiggins story that is out there and so widely circulated that you got to think there might be something to it.
Right. No, I've seen it. I'm not going to speculate there, and I'm not going to go there, and I don't want to talk about
Here's
that.
the thing. I don't care either.
You don't either.
What I care about is he's back, so fucking play. That's what I care about. Play basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. But, one of my favorite sports shows that I've ever seen, I don't even know if it still exists, but do you ever see, it's called The Backstory? Did you ever hear the back? It's called. It was the guy who did it was Don Van Atta, who was an investigative journalist that used to work in the Clinton
I
White
know the name.
House.
Yeah,
and,
I know that name.
And he's done a bunch of them. He's done one on Pete Rose and Joe Jackson while they're not in the hall. One's on Serena Williams and how she went crazy at the line judge. One was on Manti Te'o and his catfish girlfriend situation.
Okay.
All that. To me, and the whole story, the whole intro of the show is like, it's called The Backstory, and it's like basically like, when the story's too good to be true, or when there's more to the story than meets the eye, you can guarantee one thing: the backstory is even better, and that's kind of the intro for the welcome to the backstory. Yeah. And it's a great. The guy's an incredible. It's worth watching. His stuff is quality. It's so quality that I think ESPN maybe dumped it because it was like so quality. But it was like nobody appreciates quality. But I would love to know what the backstory is here, because they're clearly it screams for what's the real story. And then nobody's going to push hard enough. The people who cover sports, they're not really wanting to go they don't want to break their relationships to go find the answer to this story. They'd rather just bury it and let somebody else either go with it and be second on that story, or just pretend it never happened and
how
get
about
down
this?
the road
It's the kind
and
of
maintain
information
their
that
comfort zone.
There's certain information that even if you're wrong, being out in front of it isn't going to burn you. If you're wrong about this one and out in front of it in the wrong way, it could burn you. And not only does Andrew Wiggins, but all Golden State Warriors don't want to do interviews with you and deny some media access to who knows who the hell knows.
You're persona non grata in the locker room.
Right. But if there's a story there, you go after it. If you're a journalist and you ain't trying to be friends with the team that you're covering, you don't owe them shit. And that's not how that relationship should work. Now, I understand every relationship's a people relationship, and you got to have good relationships in order to have better relationships. And look, if your dad was sick, all you had to do was say my dad was sick, and it would have completely unplugged any speculation over his missed 23 game run, which becomes 24 tonight. This guy's been back with the team since Wednesday. Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. You're telling me he couldn't get ready for the Portland game? Like, even if he can't go tonight, Portland, he's at least going to shake a tail feather so he's not playing his first on-court basketball with the team in the postseason.
Right.
But
why does anybody want
he's already
that?
been scratched from that game too. Like, there's nothing that can happen between now and then where he could turn around to the coaches and be like, hey, I'm ready to go. And they would say, no, they've already scratched him from that game too, which I don't get it.
By the way, tonight, Golden State should win. Here's why. They're 9-point favorites. Keegan Murray has got a sore right foot. Malik Monk's got a lower leg soreness deal. Davion Mitchell's got a sore left knee. Trey Lyles has got a right shoulder that's ailing him.
Are the Kings sandbagging this game? Or are they just?
They are. Sabonis, Fox, and Herter all will miss tonight's matchup. So there you go. Mike Brown's likely going to have to rely on Keegan. And then actually just came across that Malik Monk has now also been ruled out.
I was about to say.
He was initially cleared. So Monk has been scratched.
At what point is 9 still not enough for me to take on the road with this team? But I think, yeah, sure. Okay. Given
Sacramento doesn't have a lot to play for here, Damon, because Memphis is got a, comfortably ahead of tonight. Memphis is comfortably ahead of Milwaukee, I guess, and the Kings are unlikely to get the help they needed to finish with the 2 seed. So they're going to settle into the 3 seed.
I had Joe Fortenbaugh, gambling expert over at ESPN.
I saw that. What was
on
he
the
saying
show
about
today, and I asked him, is it harder to gamble on the NBA this weekend? Because the NBA is hard to gamble on when you think both teams are trying to win. Now these games are being played, some of them under the umbrella of, is this team even really trying to win? So is there any line value to find there? What a disaster Dallas is.
Seriously, Dallas sat out healthy guys for better lottery position.
Kyrie Irving just kills basketball teams. He really does. Speaking of killing if you don't get the job done, Larry, I love talking to you. I could do it all night, but it's a Friday night. I got to go tuck the kids in. Got a nice weekend with the wife. I know you and I plan on doing an awful lot coming up on Sundays, especially football Sundays when those come back around. But we got an Easter Sunday.
I
So
know.
I'm going to be
doing family stuff Easter Sunday.
I'm going to be Easter egg hunting with the kids. We got a couple of parties to go to, and we'll be puttering around. So we are going to be back at it on Monday. You and I, we're going to have, I'm on Damon Bruce Plus at 11 a.m. On Monday morning, recapping the weekend, what the Warriors did, how the Giants opening series went at home, and I'll have all that. And then Monday night, you and I need to reconvene and keep the home and home going. I will host on Monday.
We'll do it a little later. Like more like 7:30ish maybe on Monday.
Sounds good.
Instead of,
Sounds really good.
Let me give you one Easter story from my late mother. She loved, she's a very Roman Catholic, very loved her Christmas and Easter celebrations, would dye Easter eggs and, the whole thing, right? So we didn't do the plastic eggs with the candy. We did it for our Easter baskets, but we would actually dye real eggs.
Real hard-boiled eggs.
Real hard-boiled eggs. And we would hide them all over the house until one year she had 21 eggs and we could only find 20. And we're like, where is the extra hard-boiled egg? And we found it, I would say right around the 4th of July, it was right behind the couch, right next to the curtains that went all the way to the floor, sitting there just rotting in the corner of the living room. Finally, someone was like, what the heck is that smell? Pulled back everything. There was an Easter egg that went unfound. So there you go. If you ever do the Easter egg thing, don't copy Carol Kruger. Go with the plastic eggs with chocolate or jelly beans inside.
There's a level of funk there that you just simply cannot remove once it takes hold of that room. It's the honest to God's truth. It really is. So I had a buddy of mine who, in a totally drunken, like jackass party move, went into a friend's refrigerator and pulled out some lunch meat. I don't know if it was ham, bologna, turkey. I don't know what it was. But then he went into like this utility closet or a place where he had access to like an air duct. And he just started slipping slices of this lunch meat into an air duct where, a week later they went rotten, but now they're in an air duct. So the whole house smells like rotten lunch meat. And that was about as nasty a prank as I've ever had a friend like pull on someone, because now you're like doing damage to actual property at that
That's
point.
awful.
That's rough. Anyways, man, I got to tell you, it's been a great week. We got from, no subscribers to 4,000 subscribers. I'm going to ask your audience, Larry, to step up for me just one more time. Send me to Easter Sunday. Really, really happy. Let's get to 4,500 by the end of the week. And I would love to do that. And I couldn't do that without you and your subscribers deciding, hey, we're going to go ahead and subscribe to Damon too. You've been an incredible friend. You've been a guiding hand for me during this journey over to YouTube. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Larry. You're good people. You're a hell of a broadcaster, but you're even better people. So thanks, man. Really appreciate it. And we'll do it again on Monday.
Everybody sign up for Damon Bruce Plus. Go Warriors. Good luck to the Giants this weekend. Everybody have a great Easter. D. Bruce, I'm just going to play some ads and wrap up the chat. I'll let you get out. Have a great Friday night with your lovely
When are we
bride.
going to Pig in the Pickle? We got to do
Pig
it.
in a
We gotta have
Pickle.
Pig in a Pickle sometime next couple weeks, baby.
Damon Stainbrook from Pig in a Pickle will gladly host us over there.
Damon's
Pig in a
Unite.
Pickle. He's the
Damon's
best.
Unite.
All right, brother.
Thanks,
Take care.
pal.
There you go. The great Damon Bruce stopping by there. Larry K. and D. Bruce, thanks for putting these shows on. Rip Coog Rebby? Rip Coog Rebby? We got to work on that name, Rip Coog Rebby. We might have to go with some numbers there. Val Ramos says, great show, guys. Okay, I've got a couple more thoughts I'm going to share with you before we get out of here, but I do want to thank our sponsors, Pig and Pickle, best barbecue in Northern California. They're in Corte Madera, open 7 days a week in Marin County, and they are also in Emeryville. If you're like me and you live out in the East Bay, but you love killer barbecue, check them out inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. They're open there Wednesday through Sunday. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue, the brisket chili. The one thing I'll say about this, there's very few things that intimidate me. One thing that has intimidated me is I can't do brisket. I don't have a smoker. I never could do it. If I do it on the barbecue, it's tough. I don't have enough patience to like sit there for 14 hours. But Damon and Mary, the owners of Pig and a Pickle, will cook their brisket. They'll smoke it in the smoker for like 14 to 16 hours, and it just drinks in all this flavor. It's just mouth-watering. It's so tender. You don't need a knife. You can cut it with a fork. Absolutely amazing. Brisket is got to be the hardest meat to cook. I mean, I've butchered it so many times where I'm like, God, it's tough. I've got super tough brisket, and it's because I just didn't cook it low and slow, and you got to invest time into good brisket. So check out Pig and a Pickle. Get the brisket. The brisket chili is absolutely phenomenal. The potato chips cooked in the beef fat, amazing, amazing. Here's what Pig and a Pickle looks like in their place in Corte Madera.
So New York style sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
And do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it, guaranteed.
All right, we're coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show on a Friday. We're going to be on in the postgame tonight. In fact, after Warriors Kings, join us on the postgame. Cy Satsis will be in the house, Frank Red, Bay Area Baller. Danny's going to join us from Manila, or I think near Manila. He's in the Philippines. But we'll talk a little bit more about all the different sports topics of the day. Obviously, the Giants lose to the Royals. They didn't hit it all. We got Warriors-Kings going tonight. It looks like the Warriors should have a cakewalk to a victory, but you never know. And, of course, the second round of the Masters is going on. and play has been suspended at the second round of the Masters. But the leader is Brooks Koepka, who's got a 3-shot lead on Jon Rahm. Koepka with a first round of 65, carded a 67 today, so he's at 12 under. Rahm's at 9 under. Morikawa, who is probably my favorite golfer, the former Cal Bear, he's at 6 under, 6 shots off the lead. Morikawa carded 2 rounds, both at 69. And Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, by the way, 71 yesterday, 61 today for Philly Mick. He's 8 shots off the lead, tied for 10th, but still, that's an impressive thing for Mickelson for sure. Let me see where Tiger is. Tiger had a rough first round, but it looks like he's right there on the cut. So Tiger is even through 11. He carded a 74 in round 1. He's 2 over. So he's 14 shots off the lead, but he's right at the cut line. So he's tied for 50th. The projected cut's right there. So Tiger right now would make the cut. So he'll be back when they stop suspended play, and he'll try to finish out his second round and see what he can do. I'd love to see Tiger, stick around for the weekend. That's for sure, just to make it a little bit more interesting. There's something about Tiger, just the fact that when he's out there, it's like there gives you another guy. And to me, it's interesting to see. It was so interesting to see him dominate golf, but it's now interesting after the car accident, all the family troubles he's had, all the back problems, the knee problems, now the major accident, and how diminished he is physically, to just persevere. And the one thing about this is the one tournament I love watching Tiger play in, because it's course knowledge. It's Augusta National, and he knows it like the back of his hand. So this is theoretically one of those spots where Tiger should be able to hang, because he's got course knowledge, and it's a course that rewards course knowledge. It seems like those at Firestone he does well, at Bay Hill, Arnie's course, and in Orlando he does well. Courses where he knows the course and has unbelievable course knowledge, he's got a shot, because course knowledge is a huge part of it. So if they play at St. Andrews, he's got a shot. I mean, whether we want to admit it or not. It's kind of like Watson at Turnberry. If you have course knowledge in some of these events, you can compete. So to me, I always love watching Tiger try to navigate Augusta National, because he knows it. And there's just a lot of reps there. And the course knowledge that he's built up is incredible. MF said, I saw Tiger play at Riviera in Los Angeles this year. I was just talking to Ned Coletti about Riviera. To me, that's one of the most beautiful courses. To me, it televises great, but I've had a chance to walk that course, and Riviera Country Club just gives you this feel of like history. You feel like you're in a place that has great history, and obviously it has no history compared to like St. Andrews, but you know what I'm saying. Riviera Country Club is really cool I always thought it was really cool on TV, and when I had a chance to walk down for the Genesis a few years ago, I thought it was incredible. The clubhouse looks incredible. Just there's so much about Riviera is just really, really neat. So the other big story today that we haven't really touched on, but Mike Florio is proposing that the 49ers trade Trey Lance for Mac Jones. I mean, my goodness. Mike Florio, between Mike Lombardi, who, not to be confused with Dave Lombardi, Michael Lombardi, who won't let the story that Shanahan traded up for Mac Jones, just let that die. I mean, come on, bro. I mean, seriously, at this point, Shanahan is on record as saying that he was trading up for Trey Lance. The fact that Michael Lombardi keeps going to this, the Mort report indicated that, confirmed what we've all known, that he traded up for Mac Jones. Well, why don't they have Mac Jones then, if he traded up for Mac Jones? So we're supposed to believe that Kyle Shanahan, who makes like $5 or $6 million a year and is the highest paid coach and the most powerful person in the Niner organization, somehow got begged off of a quarterback that he wanted as an offensive coach by who? By Lynch? By Jed? By some scouts? Are we really supposed to believe that? I mean, I never found that plausible. Shanahan is the Niners. He's the guy making the big bucks. It's his record. It goes on his resume. I can't buy that he didn't know who he was trading up for, or that he was trading up for Mac Jones. I refuse to buy that. And I didn't want Mac Jones at the time, and I wouldn't trade Trey Lance for Mac Jones now. But Florio seems to think that it's on the verge of happening. And go read him on Pro Football Talk, and you can see his explanation. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about Mike Florio. I don't know if he's just so anti-Niners, or if he just can't acknowledge when he's wrong. I don't know. Bouncer says, is Carmichael Dave coming on, Larry? I invited him, but I never heard back from Carmichael. So we'll be a packed house tonight, though. We are going to have Cy. We are going to have Red. We are going to have Baller. And I believe we're going to have Danny checking in from the Philippines. And by the way, a lot of you have asked, where's Rye? Where's Rye? I did trade some texts with Rye. He's doing fine. He's doing fine. So I hadn't heard from him for a couple of weeks, so I was a little concerned, but I did hear from him in the last 24 hours, and Rye's doing well, and he'll be back. He'll be back on the channel with us at some point. I'm going to go watch the Warriors right now. They're getting ready to tip it off at the Golden One. Go Warriors. And hopefully the Giants, start to swing it a little bit. But I got to be honest, guys, I'm a little concerned about the fact that the Giants have all these, it's like an all or nothing team where they strike out all the time, but they hit a bunch of home runs. But they're in a ballpark. Their home ballpark is very prohibitive for home runs. And you know what? Danny, in fact, before we leave, Danny had proposed a trade. Danny's awesome. He sent me a text earlier today saying, I'm going to propose a trade on Twitter. And let me just see if I can find it for you before we jet out of here. Let's see. Okay, where is it? He had a trade that he was going to propose, and I don't know if he actually went through with it or not. I think he did. It was in the pregame, though. Danny's either tweeting a lot, or maybe he didn't go through with it. But he was proposing a deal where the Giants would trade Luis Matos and a couple other pieces to the Marlins for Jazz Chisholm. And his whole theory was that, the Giants don't manufacture runs, and Jazz Chisholm would be a whole lot better at the top of the lineup than Lamont Wade, and Jazz would give them some juice, and Jazz would make them a little bit more dynamic. So I guess he never put it out there, but I'm a huge Jazz Chisholm fan. I would love to watch that kind of an athletic player at the top of the lineup. Bouncer says, light the beam. I bet your brother's watching it, Larry. Oh, yeah, he's watching it. But the Warriors are going to win this game, and then they're going to beat the Kings, I'm going to say in 5 in the first round of the playoffs. But I think the Kings are going to lay down. I think the Blazers are going to lay down. And I think Golden State's just going to get that 5 seed, or get that 6 seed and get Sacramento in the first round. So, you know what? It's the youth and the enthusiasm and, the first go round of Sacramento and their young talent against a Golden State team that's been there and done it and has all the hardware and has the rings to prove it. And I just think that it's a bad matchup for Sacramento. Why? Because you got GP2, and GP2 is a dominant on-the-ball defender. And you could put GP2 on Malik Monk. You could put GP2 on De'Aaron Fox. And I think if I'm Kerr, I'm putting GP2 on both those guys at different points in the game. And that's really all it's going to, in my mind, that's all it's going to take. I think Golden State, the rest of the guys will they'll circle the wagons and fire. But if I watch Sacramento this year, man, I'll give Mike Brown credit. Mike Brown walked into that situation. He's a defensive coach, but he said, you know what? I'm putting the ball in De'Aaron Fox's hands. He's lightning fast with the ball, and we're going to get out on the break, and we're going to go. And that's what they've done. And he convinced them, and he empowered De'Aaron Fox. And Fox has been rolling downhill all year. And that's why they score 118 points a game or whatever it is. They're a great, terrific offensive team if they get a bunch of easy buckets. But here come the Warriors. And GP2 is going to be able to shut down De'Aaron Fox a little bit. And I think GP2 has the ability, if he wants, to just take away Malik Monk. If Malik Monk were 6'6", or 6'7", I'd be like, maybe Sacramento gets him, just because he be too hard of a cover for GP2. But I think GP2 can snuff out the candle on Malik Monk. And if you take Monk, who's a prolific scorer off the bench, you take those points away from Sacramento, I like Golden State. If you can slow down De'Aaron Fox for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that, 5, 6, 7 minutes, you slow him down because you got GP2, I think you can beat Sacramento. So I like the Warriors to beat the Kings. I think if they get Memphis in round 2, I would love their chances against Memphis. I'm not Chalk Talks. Larry's a Monk hater. Actually, the opposite. I love Malik Monk. I just think the matchup favors Golden State. I love Malik Monk. He's instant offense. I was hoping the Warriors would get him, to be honest. Why? Because, man, he's like an old school 80s bench scorer. Like, he comes off the bench, he goes for 20. He doesn't come off the bench and go for 8, go for 10, go for 12. He comes off the bench and goes for big numbers and makes a major impact. I just love GP2 as an on-the-ball defender. So tonight, obviously, Kings are going through the motions, but even in the playoffs, Sacramento's going to see that, they had a great regular season, but the Warriors, it's like a cross-country trip, and everybody's searching for the gold, and the Warriors have the map, and everybody else just kind of knows there's gold out there. That's the difference. The Warriors know how much energy they need to expend, what they need to do. Not sorta, they know definitively. And they've been there. They've run this marathon. It's kind of like running a marathon and you've never done it. And you're going up against somebody who's run many marathons. They know what their body's supposed to feel like at the 21st mile and the 24th mile. They know how it's supposed to feel. Sacramento doesn't. Sacramento hasn't been in the playoffs ever, basically. It's been almost 2 decades. None of these guys, some of these guys have made the playoffs. Obviously, Harrison Barnes was here. They've had guys who have made the playoffs. But as a team, they've never been there. And I think they could be a little tight early. And once again, I love the defensive matchups with GP2 on those two guys. Fish and Chips says, Larry just loves chopping sports. I do. And anyway, good luck to the Giants. Good luck to the Warriors. Catch us after the Warrior game tonight. We'll have a good time on a Friday night and send you into your Easter weekend. We'll talk more about the baseball, more about the football, more about everything. It's all coming up in the postgame. Until then, we're out. Thank you.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, get an